Hey, Mass fans, Darren here again. I got a little bit of downtime waiting for an exterminator to come to the house to do a quarterly service, so I thought I'd take some time to talk more about my favorite subject, Halloween masks. Today, I want to talk about the Gore series from Distortions Unlimited. The Gore series and Distortions started out in the mid-craze in the late, maybe 1980s, mid-80s, later on into the early 90s. And they were probably motivated by the slasher films from the early 80s, which gave rise to haunted houses. It was a demand for kind of gory masks, and Ed delivered with Distortions Unlimited Gore series. And it also was at the time that we started seeing in the back of Fangoria magazines some of the more classic Gore ones that you see. You got on this one, you have Blasted, Hacked, you got Grizzle, and you got Malpractice on these. So the Gore series was great for haunted attractions. It filled the void of people in slasher scenes, blood scenes, and we used them when I worked in the West Spring Spook House, and to this day used Gore series predominantly in zombie torture scenes, mad guy in the backwoods killing people, chased around in the spook house. So these are all the Gore series masks. I have most of them that Ed has made. There's probably one I don't have, but that was produced in Spencer's Gifts, and I'll talk a little bit about that one. So let's talk about some of the more favorite ones that we see. Okay, I would say Blasted is probably one of the best sellers that Ed had of the Gore series. You can still get it Blasted through Trick or Treat Studios, same mold today, but Blasted kind of set the standard on what a Gore mask is. This guy hacked through the face with a chainsaw, it looks like, or blasted apart with a stick of dynamite. We have some brains exploded, the eyes popping out, the tongue hanging out. Really gross, gory mask. And this has been one of my favorite Distortions masks. I say probably in the top 10 that I have. Followed up with that, I would say Hack here with half his face ripped off. Another popular mask. This is one of the higher end ones. It was about $75 in the 80s, and this one was closer to the 30s. But this is Hack is a great example of a Gore series mask to complement Blasted right here. Another favorite one was Grizzle right here. This is a good early copy of Grizzle, painted in-house by Distortions Unlimited. The eye is really the biggest way you can tell with a painted eye versus a stamped eye, like you see here on Diseased. Good paint scheme. The thing about Grizzle, if you bought one later in the 90s, which was one of the imported versions of the mask from Distortions Unlimited, when Ed was doing a transition from mask to the haunted attraction business, they were not painted well. In fact, they were horribly painted, absolutely atrocious. For the price point you were paying, you could not ask for a worse mask. It looked like a kid had painted them. I had one. I traded it to Justin Mabry, and he repainted it to look just like this. Did a great job. I'll see if I can find a picture and I'll post in this video. Other ones, 1986-87 release, we saw the release of Rotted Vampire. Good sculpt, again, with the very complex paint scheme. I think I counted about 7 colors on this mask in general. Red eyes staring down at you. A good mask to use in the spook house. Diseased right here. This one we used quite a bit when I was growing up. I've actually had about 3 copies of this guy. This has been my favorite one with most of the Gore glue painted on them. But Diseased fit most of the acid type cans, anywhere someone's been burned, RoboCop type style of jumping in an acid bath. Nice boils on them. But you started seeing transitioning where Ed and Distortions started using the stamps in the eyes. And that's the key thing to tell when you're looking at eBay or something of when a mask was made from Distortions Unlimited. Once you started getting toward the 89, 90s, you started seeing stamped eyes in most of the Distortions Unlimited masks. And that was a time saver. I think Ed has since gone back to actually painting the eyes, which to me I think looks better than the stamped eyes, because the color pops better when you have a painted eye. All right, another favorite one we have over here, which is actually one of the more difficult ones to find if you can, is the Malpractice. This one's a very complex one. Ed, when I talked to him about it, said Malpractice wasn't picked up by Morris Costumes. If they did, they only ordered like 10 or so at a time, so not a mass-produced one, thus making it one of the more difficult ones to find. All right, and then you had two of the other ones that came out in the later 80s, early 90s. We had Dead Ed right here. This is an 89 sculpt, homage to the zombie with the tongue, Dr. Tongue, hanging out from the Day of the Dead series that you see in the movies. I've had this mask for quite a while. Again, you see stamped eyes versus painted eyes, like diseased in front of them. And then we had Arachnophobia, which I would say is a Gore mask. I've used this mask a couple times for Halloween, so he's lost some paint. He was new. Again, we see stamped eyes. This, I think, it's a 1989 sculpt. 1990, actually. So, Arachnophobia. I need to restuff this guy. But another great Gore one that we see from Distortions Unlimited. He's not, I'll say, extremely hard to find, but he's getting hard to find. I need to clean this guy up. All right, so we already talked about Hack here. We have Grizzle and I think Crusher right here. Distortions released Grizzle as Gusher for Spencer's Gifts later, which you'll see here. What the Gusher mask would have would be a bone face right here, same sculpt up here, but retooled bone sculpt for Spencer's in the mall. You'll see a Fright Stuff tag usually associated with that, but Gusher, and then Mangled right here. This is another great one, harder to find, but still a really good one. Most of the face has been cut off on this one, and these sold really well for it, I would imagine, at Distortions Unlimited. And finally, what we have here is a shout out to 1990 mask Staked. Probably starting to see the end of the Gore series. I have stitches around here somewhere, but I couldn't find them for this video. But Staked, the spikes on this guy do go all the way through the head, as you can see in the back. It's a pretty good paint scheme on this one. Starting to show some peeling age, but hey, Staked, a good one. So there you have it, a quick video on the Gore series from Distortions Unlimited. If you have a haunted house, pick them up. I think that you can get Lumpy, you can get Blasted, and you can get Diseased still from Trick or Treat Studios. Look them up on the website, trickortreatstudios.com, and you too can own a copy of Blasted and Diseased. Hopefully we'll see more releases of the classic series in the future from Distortions Unlimited. But enjoy. Halloween's just around the corner. Hope you guys have a great time getting your home haunts and Halloween spook houses and haunted attractions ready. It's going to be a great year. Just hope it cools down a bit, because it's still in the upper 90s here in North Carolina. But stay scary, my friends. Have a great week. Bye.